Hey y'all. So today I'm going to introduce you to a book that I think all students of early U.S. history should at least know is out there. That book is Democracy in America by Alexis de Tocqueville. You may wonder, why do you care what this jackdoodle thinks? He's not even an American. Okay, I'm going to explain it like this. You have big Thanksgiving dinners? Let's imagine you have a really big family. You've got aunts and uncles and cousins galore. And your mom is hosting the dinner, as she does every year because your mother's a saint. Well, she's got to think about how to put people around the table. She can't put Grandpa by Uncle Ted, because if she does, they'll get into an argument over politics and that will ruin everything. She can't put Grandma by your mother's sister, Janie, because Grandma will get on Janie's case about not being married. She will put her cousin Fred and your cousin Ernie together because they want to talk about football during the whole thing. There'll be some other people out in the sunroom. Your mom's got it covered. You invite a friend to dinner because you're a good person, and this friend maybe is your college roommate and can't go home for the holidays because it's too far and plane tickets are too expensive. Your mother gives this person a seat of honor because your grandmother raised your mother right and she knows how to treat guests. What happens? Your friend will be able to see your family with eyes that you no longer see your family with. There are all these strange dynamics. It's not just Grandpa and Uncle Ted or Janie and your grandma. You know how it is. Relationships between people are complicated. They're built over a long time, and you become a nerd to them. It's just, you just expect Cousin Stan to get drunk in the corner because that's what Cousin Stan does every year. You don't even think about it anymore. Your roommate is going to see it all. He's going to notice that your cousin Jocelyn isn't just skinny. Girl's got an eating disorder. She slipped her pumpkin pie into her purse. Yeah, that did not escape your roommate's attention. You're going to hear about how your parents actually have a very sweet relationship, which will make you feel nice because you don't even see it anymore. You just expect mom and dad to love each other. Your roommate is going to give you a fresh perspective on your own family. And that is essentially what this writer does in Democracy in America for the American family. This guy sits at our Thanksgiving table. He writes down all of his thoughts about his experiences, like a really long Yelp review. Of course, you might ask, who exactly was he? Alexis de Tocqueville was a French writer. His parents were aristocrats. At first, they were supportive of many of the reforms that were proposed as part of the French Revolution until they got arrested and thrown in prison as part of the Reign of Terror. De Tocqueville's father had his hair turned from dark to completely white in one night, even though he was in his early 20s. The French Revolution was not pretty. It was out of control. Regardless, Alexis de Tocqueville's parents survive, and that is good because he is born in 1805. At that point, the family is fairly restored, and he is able to grow up in an environment with many books. He reads voraciously. He sharpens his mind. He has an open mind. But probably because of his parents' experiences, he's going to always be a little skeptical about human nature. We say that we're all going to do the right thing. We say it's all about justice. Then we start killing the people that we don't like, the people who don't agree with us, the people who don't see the good as we do. That's essentially what happened in France in the late 1700s. Well, in 1831, Alexis de Tocqueville gets on a boat. He sails across the ocean. He lands in Rhode Island. And he starts to research the United States. He takes notes as he moves from state to state, and he stays over here for a little under a year. What did our world look like at that time? there were around 13 million people who were Americans. Andrew Jackson was president. The United States was the most democratic country on the face of the planet in 1831. Of course, this is going to intrigue de Tocqueville. He's going to say all kinds of things like that roommate at the Thanksgiving table. And a lot of it is going to be very complimentary. Some of it is a little harsh. Alexis de Tocqueville was thrilled by our country's variety of settlers. We had people who spoke German and French and English. If you think Europeans are all alike, you know nothing about Europe, okay? Europeans are very different. They have very different historical backgrounds. And immigrants coming to the country from Europe had very different reasons for coming to the country. And yet they all melded together. Of course, in the United States, all men are created equal. This is a founding principle. But Alexis de Tocqueville disliked the southern states because he could see quite plainly that they were not living up to that founding principle. He could see slavery was evil, and he could foreshadow that slavery and race would create major conflict for the country as it got older. Ultimately, he felt that liberty was more important than equality. I want you to think really hard about that. What do you think? Liberty is more important than equality. What do you mean by equality? He noticed how Americans pursued material wealth. We had this giant, just indistinguishable middle class, which I think is quite the compliment. But he was still concerned that continual pursuit of wealth would actually undermine morality in some way. So religion was very important to maintaining the culture and not allowing people to get blinders on that it's just about money. On that, there was a lot of religious fervor in the United States in the early 1800s. The Second Great Awakening was ongoing, for example. What did de Tocqueville have to say about women in this period? Well, first, he thought that they were the keepers of morality. But he goes beyond that. He says more about American women that might surprise you a little. Now, of course, there's more than just this passage, but let me just read a tiny little bit for you about how this guest into the house sees women in this period. The Americans do not think that man and woman have either the duty or the right to perform the same offices, but they show an equal regard for both their respective parts, and though their lot is different, they consider both of them as beings of equal value. They do not give to the courage of woman the same form or the same direction as to that of man, but they never doubt her courage. And if they hold that man and his partner ought not always to exercise their intellect and understanding in the same manner, they at least believe the understanding of the one to be as sound as that of the other, and her intellect to be as clear. What does that mean? Well, men and women had different roles in the 1800s. Men and women were defined differently per their sex. Their lot in life, their path forward was not going to be the same. That, by the way, was confining for men as well as it was for women. But listen to what else he says. He says that at least in this early United States, where women don't have a political voice, where they don't control their own property, they are considered of equal worth to their husband. Their power is different. They are valued. Does that make sense? Let's read another passage. I have nowhere seen woman occupying a loftier position. And if I were asked, now that I am drawing to the close of this work, in which I have spoken of so many important things done by the Americans, to what the singular prosperity and growing strength of that people ought mainly to be attributed, I should reply to the superiority of their women. Well, of course, Alexis. Of course. That's obvious. Y'all, he's the outsider sitting at the table. He looks at our society and he understands that this dynamic between men and women is not oppressor. It's more nuanced than that. It's a lot more complicated. It's worth thinking about. Anyway, go out, read Democracy in America. If it's a good beach read. Talk to you later. Bye.